Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperatures over the next 5 days. So we have seen a few drier days over the course of this week, and we could see some more dry weather over the next 24 to 48 hours, but as we head into the weekend it is going to be turning unsettled once again for all, as we do start to see westerly winds pushing back in. Now it doesn't look like we're going to see massive walls of rain where we see amber warnings like we saw earlier this week into last week, but we could still see more significant rainfall on top of the very saturated ground. It could cause more disruptions. I wouldn't be surprised if in tomorrow's update we do have some yellow warnings for rain issued. Now, the big thing that could be happening next week is the potential of seeing some of the remnants of Hurricane Kirk. Now, this is a major hurricane out in the Atlantic at the moment. It is not making landfall on any major land masses. However, as we head into early next week, it could be picked up by the jet stream and it could head our way by the end of the working week. So a good 7 days away from this system being nearby, but we are starting to see pretty strong consistency that its remnants are going to head our way. Still some time for deviation, but it is looking pretty likely we do see some impacts from that system. How severe, how widespread, and the exact specifics is not something we're going to be able to determine until next week, but we'll be able to show you some of the latest tracks and longer range charts showing the potential disruption and impacts that we could see, as we do see a generally pretty stormy next working week. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, if you start on the live radar, not too much going on this evening. I'm recording this around 10:30 in the evening. It's a bit of a late one, but you can see it is mostly dry. Some showers, though, now starting to move in for western regions, for Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, as we do start to see that westerly pattern re-emerge. So for Friday, maybe even a bit of Saturday, some eastern areas are still going to remain dry, but we are going to see generally unsettled weather returning for all. Now, temperatures over the past few days haven't actually been that warm at the upper air level, and that's why we're seeing pretty cold nights. But during the day, with a bit of sunshine out, it hasn't actually felt all too bad. But it will be very up and down over the coming days, as we do see oscillating air masses as a result of that Atlantic flow. Now, if you go over to the latest UKV now, you can see as we head into Friday, rain in the west, still drier further eastwards and looking fairly pleasant. Into Saturday, still could be pleasant in the far east and for much of England, Wales and Scotland, but you can see significant rain is starting to move in from the west and the southwest through Saturday evening into Sunday. And you can see it is pretty heavy and significant, but it is fast moving and it does lose its intensity as it pushes inland through Saturday evening. So hopefully shouldn't see too much disruption from that. As we head into Sunday, though, a lot more cloud around, a lot more areas of sporadic rain and maybe some heavier pulses within that, especially in the southern and southeastern quadrant. As we head into Monday, potentially dry again, but some heavy thundery showers moving through in the evening. Again, those timings could move around, and you can see that continues into Tuesday, looking pretty heavy and thundery with those showers. So yeah, not looking particularly great if I'm being honest for that longer term prospects. Not completely washout conditions, but with the very saturated conditions we do have, there could be further disruption. We'll have to wait and see the exact details. Now, if you look at the temperatures before we start to focus on the risk of ex-Hurricane Kirk arriving next week, you can see as we head into Friday, temperatures could still be mid-teens, 15, 16 degrees possible, as we do see a bit of sunshine around where it's drier. But as we head into Saturday, inevitably it will cool down, especially further westwards, more towards the low teens, but still mid-teens for much of England, as we do still have dry conditions there. Into Sunday, we start to see that rain moving through for all, and we'll see kind of very up and down conditions. Further northwards, much colder in the colder sector. Further southwards, much milder actually, 18 or 19 degrees in the mild sector. But it's not the sort of 18 or 19 degrees where it's sunny and warm and you go out in a t-shirt and shorts. It's the kind of 18, 19 degrees where it's muggy, cloudy and drizzly, unfortunately. So yes, even though it actually doesn't look too bad for temperatures into early October, or for early October, it isn't actually all too great. It's all due to a So a pretty chunky mild sector that we are seeing moving through. And then into Monday, we see that mild sector still in the east, 17 or 18. Again, where we avoid the showers, it won't be terrible. But again, it's not bone dry, it's not widely sunny, and it will be pretty humid as a result of that muggier air. And then finally, as we head into later on to Tuesday as well, again, 17, 18 degrees, but it will be very up and down next week. You start to see fresher air starting to try and push in from the west. But now if we do focus on those longer range prospects of ex-Hurricane Kirk, this is the latest GFS ensemble plot from the Weather Nerds or from weathernerds.org. Now I saw this sort of equivalent graph over on Twitter earlier today, and I thought it would be sort of the perfect chart to show in the video, as it shows you the track of this system as it moves into the North Atlantic. Now we've kind of got two things we're looking at here, or maybe we've got three things we're looking at. We've got the exact lines of the ensembles, so where the storm is moving. We've got the colour, which is indicative of the strength. Red and purples and pinks here are very strong hurricane force winds, those 80, 90, 100 knot winds. And of course, down towards yellow, greens and blues, it's weakening significantly. And then we have also got the numbers you can see. Now the numbers aren't too significant, but they are the timing. So 120 hours, that's 5 days away. 168 hours, 7 days away. This sort of time frame is not too important, but you can roughly see that we are a good 5 to 7 days away from this system being close to our shores at all. But if we do look at it at the moment, it is well off the west coast of Africa, moving out in the middle of the ocean, not really affecting any land masses, and then it heads northwards in the next sort of 24 hours to 48 hours or so. And then it gets picked up by the jet stream through the weekend, and you can start to see it's still very strong, but after about a day or two of being caught up in the jet stream and slowly shifting northwards, of course it comes across colder seas, interacting with colder air, and it turns into an ex-hurricane. Those winds die down and it loses its tropical characteristics, and that's where you see that transition from darker reds more toward yellows and greens. So still strong, but nowhere near as strong as it was 24 or 48 hours before. And then you can see the majority of ensemble members plough that system straight towards England, Wales and the Republic of Ireland. So yeah, not great. The track from the ensembles here is looking pretty likely for a hit from these remnants. But again, it all depends on the severity. Some of these bluer runs would just be a normal low pressure system. Yellows and greens, perhaps a little bit more substantial. There's the odd one in there, which is more orange, which is 60, 70 knots, which would be very strong indeed. That would be kind of amber warning worthy, maybe even the small chance of red warning for southern coastal areas. So you can see most runs are a moderate to pretty severe storm system, but nothing completely out of the ordinary. There's a minority of runs, only a handful, that are very severe, that are up there with sort of named storms that we will remember. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how it does play out, but you can see the track is fairly consistent, that it's heading towards our shores, some much further southwards, some much further northwards, but fairly strong consistency is heading towards us. It's just that intensity and the exact track. Now this is the GFS. If I actually just go back on this page, we do have the ECMWF, but unfortunately only goes out to day 7. So you can see the UK is just up on the top right of this chart, so it doesn't fully push towards us, but you can see a very similar track heading towards the UK. One thing I will notice is it's slightly further southerly tracked, so it does look like the ECMWF is pushing it slightly further southwards, which would potentially bring more of the most severe impacts in for parts of France. Again, that is something to keep a close eye on whether we see this kind of a few 100-mile difference between the GFS and the ECMWF continue into tomorrow. But you can see out to day 7, it's fairly similar with the arc heading towards Northern Europe. As I said though, slightly further southwards, but very similar in its intensity. So again, we'll have to wait and see what those runs do show tomorrow. But definitely more of these runs heading towards northern Spain, Portugal, and western France than we saw from the GFS. Again, that's the ensemble chart, and if we do have a look at the operational chart now for the GFS, you can see it's generally unsettled. You can see Kirk there just in the bottom left of the screen, exiting into the North Atlantic, getting picked up by the jet stream and heading straight towards us. You can see it's kind of slap bang in the middle of its ensemble members, heading straight to our shores. You can see it is a pretty severe low, but it does lose its intensity pretty quickly on approach. It does stay intense, still very strong isobars, down towards maybe a 960 millibars towards the centre of the low, so it is very strong indeed. And there would likely be severe winds, very heavy rain associated with it. Again, if we do zoom in and have a look at those max wind speeds, you'll be able to see that it is pretty strong indeed. Looking at 100 plus, maybe 120 kilometers per hour wind gusts. We're looking at 80, maybe 90 mile per hour wind. So pretty strong indeed. And yeah, we'll have to wait and see exactly how it does develop. But definitely the GFS today is pretty intense with this system. It said down towards sort of 960 millibars towards the centre of the low. So not out of this world, but very strong system for the UK. Beyond that, we do see northerly winds for a time, does turn colder, and then eventually we actually see a bit of high pressure building in. It doesn't last all too long, eventually getting pushed away by the Atlantic, but at least it's not a continuation of the Atlantic onslaught. A bit of a change, but again, if we can't forecast a track of ex-Hurricane Kirk at this stage, there's no point really looking at the prospects beyond that, because what happens to the remnants of Kirk could really impact that longer range forecast. So again, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, definitely very interesting at this stage. We'll have to keep a very close eye on it. If you compare to the GM, which now does have it in range out toward day 10, again, unsettled over the next few days, Kirk exiting into the North Atlantic, again turns into quite a lively system, tracking more towards the Channel than across England and Wales, but regardless, still fairly strong, but it does weaken pretty quickly on approach. So again, we'll have to wait and see the exact intensities. Northerly winds come in behind for eventually high pressure topples, and it's kind of a bit of an oscillating pattern there towards day 10. If you compare to the latest ECMWF, again, we're expecting this to be slightly further southerly tracked. So it'll be interesting to see whether it's just the operational run going southerly tracked, or sorry, if it's just the ensembles going southerly tracked, or the operational run follows. You can see again unsettled over the coming days, Kirk exiting into the North Atlantic, and interestingly, it is a lot further southerly tracked than the GFS and GM. Pretty much there, bang through northern France. Yes, we'd still be unsettled, we'd still probably see some heavy rain and some stronger winds, but no severe system, with the main intensity of this system going through northern France. You see that with the very strong winds there into western France and northern Spain. So that is very interesting indeed, with the ECMWF a little bit at odds with the other runs. Again, something to keep a very close eye on. And then out towards day 10, it's cold with northerly winds, but eventually a westerly flow does return. And if you finish by looking at the ensembles, you can see around average over the coming days, slightly above and slightly below, with a lot of precipitation into next week, and that is most likely due to the unsettled pattern and Kirk arriving, and then a big drop in temperatures later next week, as we do see northerly winds arrive on the back edge of Kirk as that does slowly clear. If you look at the sea level pressure, you can see a big dip there appearing for next week, down towards an average here of 985 millibars. So again, low, but nothing ridiculous. And then again, that is the arrival of Kirk. If you do compare, though, to the ECMWF, interestingly, we're likely to see slightly higher pressure for that point because of the more southerly tracking jet stream and the more southerly tracking system. But very similar in terms of temperatures, hovering around average, high precipitation next week, and then a drop of temperatures later next week. And you can see the sea level pressure again dropping, but only to sort of 990 millibars here. So a bit of a difference. Nowhere near as severe a system. Still some very deep low pressure systems here. So they do, there is a significant proportion that do make Kirk arrive on our shores. But as we saw from the operational run and from some of these other runs, definitely quite a few have it a lot more southerly tracked, meaning that we are a lot more settled and nowhere near sort of inundated with all that severe rain. We'll have to wait and see exactly how it does play out, but at the moment, the latest update is looking like Kirk is heading our way. Still much is up for debate and up for the models to figure out, but the latest is majority of GFS has Kirk arriving on our shores. The ECMWF, most do, but not all. Quite a few more caveats there, and again, it's all about deciphering its intensities next week. I will emphasize we aren't seeing a hurricane, that's not arriving, but what we will see is remnants, which could still be pretty severe. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.